Most people think expensive homes look good because of the price tags, but that is wrong. $1 million home can look cheap if the proportions are off, while a budget apartment can look high-end just by following a few specific design rules. This isn't about buying new furniture. It is about correcting the mistakes that make a space feel temporary. We are breaking down 10 specific design principles that designers use to create luxury on a budget, starting with the physics of light and ending with the one habit that costs absolutely nothing. Lighting destroys more designs than any other element. You can buy the most expensive sofa in the world, but if you light it with a 5,000 Kelvin daylight bulb, it will look like it belongs in a hospital waiting room. In 2026, the standard has shifted away from matching every bulb perfectly. Designers are now layering temperatures to create depth. The sweet spot is mixing 3,000 Kelvin overheads for clarity with warmer 2,700 Kelvin lamps for atmosphere. This subtle difference stops a room from feeling flat. Avoid cool white bulbs in living spaces. They flatten textures and ruin the mood instantly. Swap them out, and the entire room changes for less than $20. Your curtains are likely hanging too low, and it is shrinking your entire home. Most standard curtain rods are installed directly on the window frame, which boxes the eye in. The fix is strictly mathematical. Mount your hardware 10 inches above the window frame, or just 3 inches below the ceiling molding if you have standard height ceilings. Then extend the rod 6 to 10 inches past the sides of the window. This allows the fabric to stack against the wall rather than the glass. This floods the room with natural light and makes the window look massive. It costs the same amount of money to hang them right as it does to hang them wrong. Nothing makes a home look like a temporary rental faster than a postage stamp rug floating in the middle of a room. A rug must anchor furniture, not just cover a cold spot on the floor. The rule for 2026 is simple. At least the front 2 legs of every major furniture piece must sit on the rug. If you have an open floor plan, you might even need the all legs on approach to define the zone. Visually, a small rug disconnects your furniture and makes the room feel cluttered. A larger rug, leaving about 18 inches of bare floor around the perimeter, pulls everything together. If a massive vintage rug isn't in the budget, buy a large jute rug and layer a smaller, nicer one on top. For years, we saw color drenching, where walls, trim, and ceilings were all painted one shade. The fresh update for 2026 is color capping. This technique uses the ceiling as a fifth wall to add architectural interest without buying a single piece of furniture. You paint the ceiling and the top few inches of the wall, including any crown molding, in a contrasting or slightly darker tone than the walls. It creates a canopy effect that makes a room feel cozy and intentional. Combine this with the popular mushroom neutrals. These earthy, misty taupes have replaced stark grays and create a space that feels designed rather than just painted. Builder-grade hardware is the easiest thing to spot in a budget home. Those generous brushed nickel knobs that come standard on everything are dull and lifeless. The move now is toward living finishes, using materials like unlacquered brass or oil-rubbed bronze that change and patina over time. It gives a home a sense of history and permanence. You don't have to replace every hinge, but swapping out cabinet pulls and door handles is a low-investment project with a massive return on visual value. Mixing metals is also encouraged now. You can have black door handles and brass light fixtures. It looks collected rather than purchased from a catalog set. Plain drywall boxes feel cheap because they lack shadow and depth. In the past, adding wainscoting was expensive and required a contractor. But the box trim method has changed that. Using simple, thin molding strips, costing roughly $5 to $8 per linear foot, you can create large rectangular frames directly on your walls. Once painted the same color as the wall, it mimics the look of historic solid wood paneling. This adds immediate architectural weight to a room. It catches the light, creates shadows, and makes a drywall box feel like a historic estate. It is the highest return on investment DIY project you can do in a weekend. A room filled with flat, smooth surfaces feels cold and commercial. In 2026, biophilic design acts as a requirement for a high-end feel, rather than just a buzzword. This means introducing organic, imperfect textures that break up the manufacturing perfection of modern furniture. Consider a rough stone bowl, a raw wood side table, or a large-scale plant that acts as a living sculpture. A fiddle-leaf fig or a large monstera introduces chaotic, natural shapes that contrast beautifully with sharp corners. The trick is scale. One large, healthy tree looks expensive. 7 tiny, cluttered succulents on a windowsill look like a dorm room. For a long time, the gallery wall was the default solution for blank space, but it often looks messy and chaotic. The shift now is toward intentional walls featuring single, large-scale pieces. One massive canvas or framed print demands attention and quiets the room. You don't need to spend thousands at a gallery. A common designer hack is to buy a large drop cloth or canvas, apply joint compound for texture, and paint it a single monochrome color. Frame it in simple wood, and you have a 4-foot piece of textured art that anchors the room for under $50. It commands respect in a way that 12 small photo frames never will. If you buy everything from the same store in the same week, your home will look like a showroom instead of a life. The anti-catalog look separates designed homes from furnished ones. The secret is the mix. You need at least 20% of your decor to be vintage or thrifted. An old wooden chair with scratches, a brass lamp from an estate sale, or a worn leather ottoman adds soul that brand new items cannot replicate. These items suggest the home has evolved over time. In 2026, the grand millennial style has matured into a refined appreciation for brown furniture and dark woods, which ground a space and make it feel established. The main thing that makes a home look cheap is not the furniture. It is the clutter. We often feel the need to fill every shelf and cover every surface, but high-end design relies on negative space. Designers often use the edit down rule. Arrange your shelves or coffee table exactly how you want them, and then remove 30% of the items. That empty space allows the remaining objects to breathe and be seen. Luxury is the ability to waste space. When you crowd a room, you signal that you don't have enough of it. Clear the counters, leave walls blank, and let the architecture speak. It costs nothing, but it is the most valuable move you can make. Creating a beautiful home isn't about the budget you start with, but the decisions you make along the way. Controlling the light, correcting the scale of your rugs and curtains, and editing your space creates an environment that feels intentional and expensive. These changes prove that good design is a skill, not a purchase. If you want to keep refining your space with more practical breakdowns like this, hit subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.